In this video, I'm going to share with you one little known songwriting secret that all the best songwriters use to hack the songwriting process and create better songs automatically. If you don't believe me, this technique has been used by artists such as the Beatles, Lady Gaga, the White Stripes, Journey, and many, many others. Even massively successful modern indie artists such as Nick D and Nico Gend, each with nearly 4 million monthly listeners on Spotify, are also using this technique not only to make better songs, but to massively grow their fan base and music careers. So just what is this technique? Well, Hi, I'm Reagan Ram, and I have been writing and producing music since 2012. And just what is this secret songwriting technique? You're probably not going to believe me, but it's actually to write songs faster. In fact, writing songs crazy fast. I know this is counterintuitive, but believe me, it works. I know this is crazy counterintuitive because we think, hey, the more time we spend on something, the longer it takes, surely the higher the quality will be. But at least in the case of songwriting, usually this is not the case, although there's always exceptions. So by the end of this video, I'm going to prove to you why writing songs faster and actually spending less time on the songwriting process will result in better quality songs automatically. Not only that, but if you stick around all the way to the end of this video, I'll share with you some really awesome ninja hacks for writing songs faster without sacrificing quality if that's something you struggle with. So let's jump into reason number one why you need to write songs faster. And that number one reason is something called flow state. What is flow state? Well, it's simply the key to rapid high performance. It's a state of being where you're operating at your maximum cognitive and creative capacity. It's also been described as a mental state of relaxed high performance. And whether you know it or not, you've probably been in flow state before while creating music. It's characterized by time passing rapidly and where you lose awareness of time. You completely forget about yourself and the outside world. Distracting thoughts don't enter your mind. You are completely focused. Great ideas come easily and you're having fun. You only take a break when the call of nature threatens to overtake you. Now, the term flow state was coined by the Hungarian-American psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, and he gave a TED Talk in which he explained that our nervous system is incapable of processing more than 110 bits of information per second. What he says is that we need about 60 bits per second to understand someone talking, which is why we can't exactly listen to two people talking at the same time. Simple math, that's 120 bits of information per second. If two people are talking, we can only comprehend 110. So when you are completely involved in the process of creating something new, you don't have enough attention left over to monitor how your body feels, problems at home, or whether you're hungry or tired. Which, now that I think about it, maybe I should go on a song creation diet to lose weight and simply create songs for like 72 hours straight. Let me know in the comments below if I should do that challenge. Basically, to summarize all that, your identity disappears from your consciousness and existence is temporarily suspended when you're in flow state. And I can definitely attest to this. I get in the groove of creating music and everything fades away and I cannot comprehend anything else. I can't hear it, anything that's going on, even though I have 4 kids at home and they can make lots of noise. It can be like banging on my door and I'm just still focused in the groove. In fact, one anonymous American composer also had this to say about flow state. You are in an ecstatic state to such a point that you feel as though you almost don't exist. I have experienced this time and time again. My hand seems devoid of myself and I have nothing to do with it. What is happening? I just sit there watching in a state of awe and wonderment and the music just flows out of itself. This is how it feels to me when I am writing songs. I just feel like I am discovering or uncovering something that already exists. I'm also a novelist, so as I've written novels and you're into flow state, it almost just feels like the story's unfolding in front of you. And sometimes the story takes a twist and goes into a different direction you didn't think it was going in when you started writing. Like, oh, I had no idea that character was going to die, but it just kind of happened because you're in this groove, you're in this flow state where basically your subconscious mind, the muse, is just kind of taking over and not exactly controlling you, but kind of doing that. So flow state is when your brain operates at maximum efficiency. You can create rapidly without sacrificing quality, right? This is scientific, people. I've tried talking about this before on my channel and on my blog, and I get so much negative feedback. I get a lot of positive feedback as well, but I get a lot of backlash of people saying, what, write music fast? What, quality be damned? No, not at all. If you're in flow state, you're not only creating rapidly, but at your maximum efficiency. And speed is actually key to this element. You cannot achieve flow state without a certain level of speed, as I'll cover in just a second. So how exactly do you enter flow state? Well, you need these 8 different characteristics to happen, according to Csikszentmihalyi, to get into flow state. So they are: number 1, complete concentration on a task is key. So if you're moving faster, it's going to be easier to be concentrated on the task, because if you're moving more slowly, it's easier to get distracted and not have that concentration. Number 2, you need clarity of goals and reward in mind and immediate feedback. This is why songwriting is so awesome, because especially if you're writing in a DAW, you have immediate feedback. You write something and you hear it and it sounds good or bad. And you usually have a clear goal in mind. I'm trying to finish this song. I'm trying to finish this melody, this bass line, what have you. So songwriting is excellent for flow state. You also need the transformation of time. In other words, time is seemingly speeding up or slowing down for you. The experience is intrinsically rewarding. Now, effortless and ease, number 5, is also important to this. And this is something that might trip up yourself if you are a beginner, but I'll cover that in just a second. Number 6, there is a balance between challenge and skills. Number 7, actions and awareness are merged, losing self-conscious rumination. And number 8, there is a feeling of control over the task. So that's a lot of things, but we can summarize this list into really 2 things are necessary to enter flow state. And there are: 1, that the task you're doing has to be challenging enough to keep your mind busy. We don't have to worry about that as songwriters, as producers. There's always going to be a certain level of challenge that our mind is going to be kept busy. So songwriting is challenging enough. We have that one covered. But it also has to be easy enough to avoid frustration. So that means you have to have a certain level of proficiency at songwriting in order to enter flow state. And not just that, but the tools you're using. So if you're writing inside of your DAW, you have to be pretty familiar with your DAW so that you're not getting tripped up and wondering, oh, where's this control at? Or where's that control at? Or how do I get to this window or that page? So for me, when I'm writing a song, I'm so comfortable with my DAW, I don't even notice my DAW. It just becomes an extension of myself. And so there's no barriers for me when I'm writing songs. So if there's any barriers to you writing songs, make sure you seek to ruthlessly eliminate those. And so maybe set aside some time to practice whatever it is that's a barrier to you writing easily, and eliminate those. And so the other thing that can slow you down then and make it harder is if you are too focused actually on quality itself and like trying to make everything perfect. That is going to slow you down and lead to frustration and knock you out of flow state. Whereas if you're just creating to create and having fun, that's where you're going to avoid that frustration and keep your mind busy and actually create the highest quality. And speaking of barriers or things that might make the songwriting process harder for you, I have a full video that goes through how to go about writing songs faster and how to set things up for yourself so you have a system so that songwriting is very, very easy. I'll link to that in the description below. So that's flow state. You need to enter flow state to create your best music, and the best way to get into flow state is to be creating at a pretty fast pace. So you're not getting distracted, you're not getting tripped up or confused or frustrated. You need to be kind of moving quickly and effortlessly to enter flow state to create your best quality music, and that requires a level of speed. Now, if you're someone who does find themselves getting tripped up with the songwriting process and it's frustrating, it's slow, it's agonizing, and you want some ideas for speeding up your songwriting process, and if you want an actual system you can follow so that you can produce high quality songs each and every time you go to write, then I have a free guide, a cheat sheet, if you will, that kind of gives you a system, a step-by-step workflow you can follow so you're always creating great quality music. I'll have that linked in the description below, or you can go to orpheusaudioacademy.com/songwriting. All right, reason number 2 why you want to be writing songs faster. The reason is that your gut instincts or your intuition are often more accurate than sitting down and thinking and agonizing and overthinking for a long period of time. This is especially true for music because with music is essentially a form of communication, and you're communicating through emotions rather than words. Even if your songs have lyrics in them, Basically, music is a way to bypass your brain, your mental side, and go speak directly to the heart or the emotions. And that is why people love and connect with music so much, is it's a shorthand, a shortcut to get exactly to emotions and communicate through emotions. This is why songs are even, instrumental songs, even if they don't have words, or even songs that have words, maybe the words are kind of negative, right? Maybe they're kind of depressing, but if the song itself sounds upbeat, you're going to get an upbeat feeling from the song, right? The lyrics are kind of an add-on that can enhance. They're the icing on top of the song. I'm not saying lyrics aren't important, but they're kind of not that important, which is why you see so many popular songs today with absolute trash lyrics. Now, again, being a writer at heart, I still esteem lyrics and think we should be writing great lyrics, but again, keep the most important things front and center, which is the song itself and the melody, namely the melody. But anyway, since we are dealing with a form of communication and communication through emotions, by working fast, you somewhat turn off your brain and the thinking side of your brain, right? The left-hand side of your brain, if you will, right? The left brain, right brain, with the left brain being more the analytical side, the right brain being the more creative side. You're kind of turning off your left side of your brain and focusing more on the right side, the creative side, by moving quickly, and you're now acting on feeling, right?
Remember, a
music producer
can feel the force flowing through him.
You mean it controls your actions?
Partially, but it also obeys your commands.
It's all a lot of simple tricks and nonsense.
I suggest you try it again, Luke. This time, let go your conscious self and act on instinct.
But by writing fast, how am I supposed to make a high-quality song?
Your
Brain
can deceive you. Stretch out with your feelings. You see? You can do it.
I call it luck.
In my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
You're making decisions really without thinking, right? If you've ever been kind of creating a song quickly, you're not really thinking to yourself, oh, I'm going to write this, and now I'm going to write this, or if the song could use this. You're just kind of creating without really being aware of your thoughts. And again, that's kind of flow state as well. So you're creating by feeling, by emotion. And since that's the medium we're dealing with, music, you create better music as a result. Now, a really great book that goes more into detail on this and how our intuition or our gut feelings can actually be more accurate than like sitting down and thinking things through, which is also important, right, at times. But a great book that talks about this is Malcolm Gladwell's Blink. This is really cool. In that book, he talks about the concept of thin slicing, which is our ability to use limited information from a very narrow period of experience to come to a conclusion. This idea suggests that spontaneous decisions are often as good or even better than carefully planned and considered ones. I think you yourself can probably think back to a time in your life where you acted on your gut instinct or your intuition and it ended up being better than, even though all the facts and data were saying one thing, but your gut was saying something else. And maybe the opposite is true. Your gut was saying one thing, but instead you went with your mind and ended up being a bad result. And why this happens, and like, I'm a very analytical type person, right? If you take, the Myers-Briggs personality type thing, if you value that at all, I am an INTP personality type, which is like the absolute most analytical type. I like the idea of, sitting down and analyzing all the data and the facts and coming to the best possible idea. But sometimes your gut instinct or your intuition is going to be a better decision maker for you. And this is because, especially in periods of time where you have to make a decision quickly, because basically your gut or intuition is taking in a limited amount of data and cross-referencing it against all of your memories and all of your experiences in an instant, just like that, right? It's a quick hand. It's processing very quickly before your mind can really catch up to what your intuition has already figured out, if that makes sense. So your gut instincts are taking in all the data, all the experiences that you've ever really acquired in your life and compiling that into a feeling, an instinct. And so that is why it is sometimes more accurate than making a decision based on the available data, because sometimes the available data is limited. Your subconscious is noticing things that your conscious brain is not. And so when you're writing a song quickly, what you're really relying on is your gut instinct or your intuition rather than your thinking brain. And especially maybe if you're someone that has like a music theory background, which I do not have, which I think is actually helpful for me when it comes to writing songs, is you can be trying to do everything technically right and make sure you're following this songwriting rule or that songwriting rule, or, this portion of the song, I need to have the third chord go to the sixth chord or something. I don't even know because I'm not a music theory person. But when you're dealing with all that kind of stuff and trying to write things technically sound, you're going to run into problems more often than not. Because, again, gut feelings, especially when it comes to music, I think, are often more accurate because it's a more efficient pattern recognition ability that you have here. So intuition relies on recognizing patterns and relationships that conscious thought might overlook. Speed and simplicity. Gut feelings cut through noise and focus on the essentials, avoiding the paralysis caused by overthinking. And 3, emotionally anchored decisions. Our gut often reflects deeply ingrained expertise or values, leading to choices that align with our true priorities and our true selves as creators, as artists. And there's tons and tons of examples of this, of how people's, intuition or gut instinct is actually more accurate than, overthinking and spending a long time thinking about something. For example, there was this case where these art experts quickly identified a supposedly ancient Greek statue as a fake within seconds of seeing it, even though all of the scientific testing suggested that it was authentic. The art experts' gut feeling came from subtle details in the sculpture's appearance that didn't align with genuine ancient techniques, even though they couldn't immediately articulate why. So they looked at it and like, that's a fake. And the scientists could be like, how do you know? And they'd be like, I don't know, it just seems like a fake to me. And so the same thing is true as a songwriter. As you get more experience writing songs quickly, which is another huge benefit, which I'm going to get to in a second, you just get a feeling for what's a good song and you're relying on what feels good versus being something technically sound. By the way, if this video has been helpful for you in any way, go ahead and hit that like button, or if you're absolutely hating it, go ahead and crush that dislike button as well. I want to see what the response is to this. Now, like I said, at the end of this video, I'm going to give you some ninja hacks to help you write high quality music faster. But one tool that can really help you with that is the sponsor of this video, which is Lander. And their Lander studio plan has tons of tools to help you create music better and faster. And a big thing for you would be their samples. So you can find samples across just about any kind of instrument you can think of, any genre, sound effects, and you can even sort by BPM and key. And there's so many awesome sounds in here to help you get the sound you're looking for really fast. Not only that, but with Lander Studio, you also get tons of awesome plugins, as you can see here, that can also help you create music faster. I highly recommend Lander Studio, and you can get 20% off your first year when you use my link. Just go to orpheusaudioacademy.com/Lander to sign up, and this will get you producing amazing quality music at record speeds. Now, the third major reason why you want to be writing songs faster is that increased output equals more practice and more opportunities for inspiration and ultimately higher quality. So quantity leads to quality. In fact, there's a really well-known experiment that proves this concept to be true, and it is the case of the photography class that was taught by a professor at the University of Florida, and he divided his class, the students in his class, into 2 groups. So everyone on the left side of the classroom would be in the quantity group, and they'd be graded solely on the amount of work they produced on the final day of class. He would tally up the number of photos that they took that was submitted by each student, and 100 photos would be an A, 90 photos a B, 80 a C, and so on. Meanwhile, everyone on the the other side of the room, they would be in the quality group, and they would be graded only on the excellence of their work. They would only need to produce 1 photo during the semester, but to get an A, it had to be a nearly perfect image. Pausing right there before getting to the end of the story and what the results were, which were pretty shocking, but just think about that for a second. Would you rather just have to produce 1 photo and have it be absolutely perfect, or would you rather just have to submit 100 photos and know you get an A guaranteed? Right? Maybe at first glance, it seems like, oh, 1 photo, that's easier, but think about the stress that goes with that, how much time you have to put into studying, and maybe you take a photo, oh, it's not good, and you have all this consternation, and you have to take another one, and maybe you're tweaking it and editing it and trying to get this perfect photo. And it is so stressful, right? It makes you hate the class, probably makes you hate photography. And maybe this is already ringing true for you, right? maybe you've tried that with a song and it makes you so frustrated because you're trying to get it perfect, and it's not sounding like what you're hearing on the radio, what you're hearing on Spotify, and it just gets so frustrating. Versus, right, what if you just had to take 100 photos, boom, instant A, right? You can just go around taking photos of anything, right? And if you like photography, probably just as a result of going about taking photos on your own, you would just be interested in taking better photos, and you'd be learning things along the way. Anyway, finishing the story. So what were these results? What were these shocking results of this? It found that at the end of the term, the professor was surprised to find that all the best photos were produced by the quantity group. The quantity group, those who focus on quantity, produced the best results. That's what this whole video is about. This is what I've been screaming from the rooftops on this channel about. During the semester, these students were busy taking photos, experimenting with composition and lighting, testing out various methods in the darkroom, and learning from their mistakes. In the process of creating hundreds of photos, they honed their skills. Shocking. Meanwhile, the quality group sat around speculating about perfection. In the end, they had little to show for their efforts other than an unverified theories and one mediocre photo. And I see this kind of a lot from a lot of people. I call them the music snobs, my arch nemesis, always telling me I'm not doing things technically the right way. But I don't see them producing a whole lot of music or a lot of quality music either. And this is what you just see over and over again, that quantity leads to quality. And if these reasons aren't enough anecdotally, I have found this to be true for myself. In my experience, when I'm writing songs for clients that have, like, especially, right, when you're, this is great because when I get hired to write songs, I'm usually paid by the hour. And so clients don't want me to rack up tons of, billing hours for them. Usually I write a song in like an hour to 2 hours for them. And all those songs are my best content. Those are like my best songs. That's why I keep getting hired. And this is also true like in the real music industry world, right? When I worked in a recording studio and we were recording bands and mixing bands and stuff, like you have a deadline and you got to get things done and it has to be good quality. Otherwise no one's going to come back and you're going to lose your business. You're going to lose your studio. And just when I'm writing music for myself and my own band, the songs I write the fastest tend to be the best. But don't just take my word for it. A lot of other artists have said the same thing. In an interview I did with the synthwave artist DreamKid, he said the songs that he writes the fastest tend to be the best. Here's what he says.
It's definitely, I think songs that you write really quickly, they always seem to be the one. Like Chrissy, I think I wrote that in 20 minutes.
That's fascinating.
I wrote the main part, the main, all the synth and the guitar riff in 20 minutes. And I didn't really think much. I was just like, yeah, whatever. It's like, literally, I made it in 2 hours and then filmed it and posted a video. And then it was like, next thing it was like, oh, okay, I suppose a bit.
So say that again. So you're saying the songs that you typically write the fastest end up being the best or doing the best? That's so
because it's like, you're not overthinking it and you're just like, yeah, cool. And you just kind of, if you think about that Chrissy, like that main riff or whatever, it's the most basic thing. But I don't know. It's just, but that's just, I've always written, like I say, I've always written really simple stuff, but it's just so basic. It's so brain dead. It's like, a baby can play it.
I really like that song. I don't know. I think you see that a lot. A lot of times the more simple stuff does better, like simpler melodies. And I've been saying the same thing on my channel, that like a lot of times my best stuff is when I've written it the fastest. I think I call it capturing the muse, or not me, other people have said that. It's like capturing, it's when you're kind of capturing lightning in a bottle somewhat, when you're going fast and you just kind of just come up with something quickly versus laboring over something. Not that you can't do something well that way, but I think you do see that a lot, is a lot of times the stuff you do.
Yeah, I think when you hone on something too long and you like overthink it and you change this and change that bass structure and change, I don't know, like it just gets a bit, you just get over it.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you think, oh, yeah, I think people can sense that you got over it.
I also saw a cool video by Rick Beato where he was interviewing an artist and he basically said the same thing.
Bill said, need an organ solo. And we did it, and it did rock. I said, well, maybe I'll redo the organ solo, have a little listen. And Bill said, you won't? He said, because that's a solo. He said, that is everything that it should be. All you'll do is start to maybe tidy a bit up here and change that there. He said, no, I'm going to stick my foot down. That stays. Wow. You know when something, oh, that's shit. That's
And there's tons and tons of other examples of really amazing songs that were written really fast. Here are just a small sample. For example, Yesterday by the Beatles. When Paul McCartney was 21, he woke up from a dream and wrote the song Yesterday in less than a minute. Wrote the song in less than a minute. Now, he had a little bit of an advantage there because it came to him in a dream. I've actually gotten some songs in dreams before. I don't know if you have either, but make sure you write those down when you wake up or you'll forget those. But there's tons of other examples as well. So, for example, the song Just Dance, which kind of blew up Lady Gaga into the mainstream, that was written in just 10 minutes. Of course, you have Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. That was written very quickly. The Cave by Mumford & Sons was actually written during a sound check at a pub. So that was pretty quick. And according to Forbes, the greatest song of all time, Don't Stop Believin', that was also written very quickly. Now, if that wasn't enough, writing songs faster also really helps you build your music career, because in this day and age, it benefits you to release singles frequently, like every 4 to 8 weeks, to have a new song coming out, because you stay top of mind, you build momentum, you have something new to talk about and to promote. This is something that a lot of the top successful modern indie musicians are talking about. For example, Nick D, I think he was actually releasing a song a week. Russ, who blew up as an independent artist, he was releasing one song a week. I've done a couple interviews with Nico Gent. He had over 4 million monthly listeners on Spotify when I interviewed him, and he releases a song every 4 to 6 weeks. And so you can't do that unless you're writing a lot of songs and testing them, finding the best songs, and then also getting those songs done quickly so you can release every 4 to 6 weeks, right? That's not a whole lot of time in between. And that sounds almost impossible. If songwriting is a really slow, painful, arduous process for you, then that just is really discouraging and can feel overwhelming. But if you get to the point where, you know, it's nothing for you to write a song, I can write a whole song in like a half hour. If it's nothing to you to write a song in like an hour or 2 hours, then you can find yourself feasibly, you know, in just a few hours a week, writing a song or two a week. And right, then you have like mixing and mastering. Those are kind of different processes. Although even with those, you kind of want to move quickly. You don't really want to master a song. You don't want to take longer than 20 minutes to master a song, because you're going to lose, especially in mastering, you're going to lose that listening objectivity, because your ears are going to get used to it. And when you're really listening at a fine-tooth comb level with mastering, you don't want to be spending too much time on that and get listening fatigue. And mixing is the same thing. You kind of want to move a little quickly with mixing and not dilly-dally too long, because you're going to lose your listening objectivity or get listening fatigue. Now, it doesn't mean you can't, if you are going to be, so maybe it's a song that is just a lot to do. There's a lot of tracks. There's a lot that needs to be involved. Don't take shortcuts for sure. Like follow the mixing process, but make sure you take breaks so you give your ears a break. And while you are mixing, stay focused, get into that flow state, and probably move faster than you think you need to be. So I hope this has been freeing for you to know that you can actually write songs fast, and writing songs fast is actually going to produce higher quality songs. If this has been discouraging for you at all, let me know in the comments below, and I do my best to help you. Maybe I didn't explain something well, but if you want help actually writing songs faster, right, you're ready to embrace this and you want to release songs more frequently, you want to write songs faster and at higher quality, I have a whole video that goes into this, and you can click the box on the screen now, which will teach you some really cool ninja tips that help you write songs more quickly. See you over there.